Hi guys and welcome back to SwitchUp. Today we've got another sales video for you and there's some lovely Square Enix ones in there. If the price on the screen is in your local currency, it means that game's on sale in your region. Thanks as always to all of our Patreons and everyone who leaves comments down below. It means the world to us.
Yeah, cheers Mark. As you say, there seems to have been a couple of decent sales recently. Let's see what's on offer this time, shall we?
The first game is World of Final Fantasy Maxima. It's currently 50% off on the eShop. It was originally released in October 2016. It's full of the characters that you'd know from the various iterations and has a capturable monster mechanic in there. They're known as mirages. It looks like you can play as several of the heroes from the different Final Fantasy games. And at 50% off, it seems reasonable.
Okay, lovely. Right, next one then, another RPG and another one that's 50% off, and that's Lost Sphere. This is also from Square Enix, and they also did Am Setsuna. I do own this one physically, although I haven't played it yet, but I've played enough of Setsuna to know that if you like your old school RPGs, these are a throwback to those particular games and are well worth checking out.
Lovely, yeah, I really enjoyed Am Setsuna. Didn't get highly rated, but for me it was very much like Glen said, a throwback to those RPGs of old. The next game on our list is Valkyria Chronicles 4. The first one recently went on sale and has shot to the top of the eShop, and it's very nice to see this one go on a 50% reduction. These games have a turn-based element to them, but there's also a really nice story behind them. If you're a fan of the first one, and I'd suggest maybe picking that one up, I think it's still on sale, or if you've already played that one, then now is the perfect time to get this because it's the first time I've seen it on sale. It's quite a new game actually. All of the DLC is also on sale at 50% off, so it might be worth just getting the whole set together. This next game is called Forgotten Anne and it's another Square Enix title. It's currently 40% off in the UK and US eShop. Now Glen and I haven't played this one, but many of you on the channel have recommended we do so, and I'll probably pick it up in this sale. It looks to have elements of an adventure game mixed with some kind of platforming and maybe also a branching dialogue mechanic. It really is tricky to tell just from the trailer alone, but let us know down in the comments, have you played this one? Why should we check it out and maybe help some others that are thinking about doing so?
Right, next up then we have This War of Mine, the complete edition. I did a review on this one a few months back and it's a game I absolutely love. It's a very touching game, very delicate subject matter, and it's handled very well. The one thing that let it down in my opinion was the price was just way too high, where it's currently 40% off, and at this price, just over £20, this is much more tempting.
Yeah, I played a lot of that one when it was a mobile game. It was nice to play it on the Nintendo Switch. It definitely translates over really well. The next game is the Flame in the Flood Complete Edition. This is currently half price on the eShop and is another survival game where you travel down a procedurally generated route down the river, having to craft tools, create remedies for any illnesses or ailments you've got, and evade the vicious wildlife. The thing about this one is, while it is a very fun game, it's also a very difficult one and quite punishing at times, but it's been so highly recommended to us that now might be the time to get it. It also features the original soundtrack and by all accounts has a lovely audio package.
Next up then, another RPG, and again 50% off, and this is Romancing Saga 2. This is a remaster of a Super Nintendo game that I think came out around 1993. The interesting thing about this one is that you go through a generation of a particular family, but it's a very interesting take on the RPG formula.
The next game I'd like to recommend to you is a game called Earthlock by Snowcastle Games. Now this is very heavily inspired by the late 90s RPGs, but what's particularly interesting about this title was that it was originally released and then almost retracted by the developer because they weren't pleased with it. They then spent the next year working on improving it and making it the game they originally intended. There are 6 playable characters and the relationships between these can give you a strategic advantage in combat. Overall the aesthetic of it is lovely. While the earlier game is a little bit slower paced, I enjoyed this one and would recommend you pick it up as it's about 55% off on sale on the UK eShop.
Next then we have Detention, and this one isn't an RPG. It's 40% off as it stands at the minute, and it's a 2D horror game based in Taiwan in the 1960s. This one relies quite heavily on its atmosphere, and it's quite impressive how much atmosphere it manages to invoke in a 2D game. This one comes quite highly rated. At 40% off, it's well worth having a look at.
Long before SwitchUp was even a pipe dream, I was watching a live stream with Tim Schafer from Double Fine Games, and I put a comment down below asking him if he was considering coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, he actually picked up on that comment and he just wrote something along the lines of, I would love to have my games on there. And now we've got Broken Age. Broken Age is a classic adventure game from an industry legend. You take control of 2 different characters, one of whom is about to be sacrificed and another who is living a very unusual life under the watchful eye of a very strange mother spaceship. Just as with those old classic games like Monkey Island, it's a very unusual tale indeed, but I absolutely love this game. The aesthetic people weren't sure about when it originally released, but it's really aged well and it's brilliant on the Nintendo Switch. It's currently 30% off on the eShop.
There you are. I was getting worried.
Worried that I chickened out?
No! I know you're not afraid of anything.
The Grand Moggs have visited our lands for as long as anyone can remember. They hide in the wilderness for years, and then they come to feed.
What if we fought the monster instead of feeding it.
Don't make this any harder than it already is.
If you destroy the feast, Mug Chunk.
The next game is Spelunker Party. This is another Square Enix game and it's currently 50% off. This got a physical release in Japan, although that's never happened anywhere else. The basic idea or premise is that you go into the caves to try and collect treasure and you have to try and avoid the hazards. It's quite a difficult game and trying to grab onto the ladders can be quite difficult and fairly frustrating, but it's quite a rewarding game at the same time. You can play it in co-op both locally and online, and there's even a demo available if you want to have a try of that first.
Okay, the next game is Am Setsuna, and it's another Square Enix RPG of old, made by the Tokyo Game Factory. That is a terrible name. In this game, you travel with a group of companions escorting a sacrifice. You don't really know why she's being sacrificed, or if indeed she will make it to the end of the tale. What I liked about this, and it's what some people didn't like, was the overall somber atmosphere. I enjoyed the fact that it was mostly set in a snowy and barren landscape because I'm so used to these colourful, overly cheerful JRPGs. And the piano music is absolutely lovely. This is currently 50% off.
Last one then, and it's Fear Effect Sedna. Now, I reviewed this a fair while ago now. In all honesty, I probably gave it a slightly higher score than it should have got. The gameplay mechanics, on reflection, were not as good as I felt they were at the time, but it's 90% off and it's about £1.50, $2, whatever it is. For that price, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's certainly not a bad game. It doesn't follow the classic Fear Effect games. It's more of an isometric strategy game of sorts, with some basic puzzle elements thrown in for good measure.
Okay, I think Glenn and I have almost died of tiredness, so we're going to call it quits with this list. Thanks so much to all of our Patreons, every one of you that comments down below, and for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, let us know which ones you're picking up, if any, and as always, until the next one, happy gaming.
See ya!